We'll see.
Oh, he did. All right. So, what was the person's name there that wants to make a comment?
Yeah, I didn't see him.
Celia, what was their name that wanted to comment in the chat?
I didn't see that.
All right, we are, it's call to order. My name is Doug, I'm the chair of the library board, and this is your library board. We have a quorum. We're gonna begin by doing public comment. So, small room, if you're on that side, maybe stand, stand over next to Tom. Or behind Tom over there in the corner, and if you're on this side, maybe go stand over by Celia, so that we can hear you. So the first.
Nicholas Bozik is.
Nicholas what?
Yes, Nicholas Bozik, B-O-Z-I-K, is an online person.
Yes. Do you want me to start speaking?
No. Well, I'll call on you.
Okay.
So I have, in order on the sign-up sheet, I have Jess Villanova, Rachel Garfield Levine, Melanie?
Yep.
Okay, so you're third. All right, so Jess?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
All right.
And Andy will cut you off.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jess Villanova. I'm an acquisition specialist in the Collection Services Department. And I just want to start by thanking you all for your time. I know that there's been much deliberation regarding this policy. And I personally want to thank Tom and Andy for taking the time to meet with a subcommittee group on the 22nd, including Rachel, Catherine, Dana, Sean, and myself. And to begin, I just want to say that I will be repeating some points that we have spoken about before, either at the last board meeting or at the subcommittee meeting. Although these points may sound familiar, I do want to emphasize that they are top priorities for our union. And we believe that they weren't repeating before the executive session. One point we would like to suggest is to provide a concrete definition for managers. In the policy, section 5, paragraph 3, we ask that you clearly define managerial staff. Our initial policy defined a management employee as an employee of the library who customarily and regularly directs the work of 2 or more other employees and who has the authority to hire or fire other employees. Having a concrete definition of managerial staff ensures that we do not exclude any staff who are considered managers on duty. Additionally, paragraph 4 of this section is an incomplete list of departments and divisions that we understand this policy is intended to include in the bargaining unit. As discussed at the last board meeting, the cleanest solution to this would be to delete everything in the paragraph starting with "in the following departments" through to the end of the paragraph. Thank you for your time.
I do think there is some edits that we didn't fully make, so that were in the packet. So I have Rachel, Melanie, and then Michael. So go ahead, Rachel.
I'm Rachel. I'm going to be lurking right behind Chris. Hello, my name is Rachel Garfield Levine. I am a librarian at the Nobo branch of BPLD. I would like to again thank the board for being so responsive to our requests and input during this process, and especially thank board members for being willing to meet with us in smaller groups so that we can all learn from each other as we work for union recognition for BPLD employees. I would like to speak about the inclusion of substitutes in the library's union policy. I started at the library as a sub in 2015, and it was a fantastic way to get my foot in the door, meet staff from all locations, and learn so much about the different procedures of the library. The policy as currently written would allow anyone who works over 500 hours a year to be included in our union. Upon surveying substitutes who work in various positions throughout the library system, we think that number is not workable for BPLD and would in fact include almost all substitute staff from the ability to be part of our union. We had materials handler and library specialist substitutes tally up the amount of hours they worked in 2024 and 2025, and those numbers range from 40 hours to the highest estimate we received around 400 hours worked in a year. Furthermore, substitutes are inherently limited in hours they can work by the amount of hours offered to them. Only around 100 hours of shifts were offered to materials handler substitutes in 2025, so none would have been able to work close to enough hours for union membership under this policy. It simply wouldn't have been possible. Finally, by creating a position that is explicitly excluded from the union while still performing bargaining unit work, this policy opens the door to unnecessary conflict down the line. It creates a structural loophole that could allow management to shift union work to employees who are not protected by the contract. In other settings, similar approaches have been used to gradually weaken or undermine unions. We do not believe that is this board's intent. However, policies outlast any one board or management team. The language adopted today will remain in place for years, even as leadership changes. To protect the good faith we together have built throughout this process and to ensure long-term stability, this vulnerability must be removed. We have sent Andy and Tom a proposal of allowing union membership for anyone who works 200 or more hours a year, but we strongly encourage the board to base that number ultimately on the data available internally, both average substitute hours worked by the substitute staff and hours available for them to request to work. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, it's Melanie and then Michael and then
Nick.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. See? Starts with an F. If your name starts with an F, you're
Piatria? Piatria.
Okay.
Piatria.
All right.
It's not Nick, right?
No.
Okay. Hi, Nick. What am I doing teens? Hello, my name is Melanie Borski Howard. I work in youth services here at the main library. I'm grateful we're at this point. Thank you for all putting up with us, for us putting up with you for everything. Since Christina and I met at the Rio in 2022, saying we need to get this started. It's been a long road. And I'm so thankful for ASME and for getting to know my coworkers later. It's been a lot of work. It's getting better. The last November, administration implemented a hiring freeze. YS&PS staff were asked to transfer to a branch needing staff. I decided to volunteer and I'm now at Meadows once a week. That's been hard for me. I love Maine and I love being in children's, but I decided to do it. But I've got to know the staff of that branch. And although it wasn't exactly what I expected, that it would be, I have loved getting to know new coworkers, and that's where I am. I love my coworkers, and I'd like to speak directly to people that are coworkers that aren't being thought of wholly. So over my 20 plus years of working here, and I don't mean wholly, I'll get to that. I'm trying to not read this damn screen. Over my 20 plus years of working here, I have watched them go through hardships and joys. I'm here today not only for me, but for my coworkers. Two particular departments I have had the pleasure of working with and whose contributions I want to highlight as I advocate for them to be part of the union are IT and finance. I have seen members of finance here on weekends when I am doing a program, up working overtime in their department. I have seen IT scrambling when I'm freaking out about my mic not working at story time and them taking it so seriously. And also like performing the amazing daunting task of getting all the sound equipment ready for the Jalpur Literature Festival. That's huge. What they do is immense and huge. The members of our finance and IT departments are few, but they are mighty. And they deserve to have a place at the table the same as the rest of us. The argument that IT employees are confidential staff does not ring true to us. Per our conversations with our coworkers in IT, while they could access confidential information such as board emails, they only do so when directed to do so under very specific, very rare circumstances. This does not make them confidential employees. The same holds true for accounting and unions at other comparable public libraries represented by AFSCME, such as Jeffco, Salt Lake City Public Library, and a range of Washington State library systems have included employees from IT and accounting with the exact same titles in their bargaining units, with no issues occurring regarding conflicts of interest. Members of the IT and finance departments are part of the supermajority, and of card signers we have signed up. Oh, okay. Thank you for your work.
Okay, Michael Piatra. If you're here, tell me I'm saying it wrong. You're Nicholas.
Hello.
I think we're Nicholas online. I think this is-
Yeah.
That's
Michael
Nicholas.
first, though.
Michael, but
Michael, I'm reading them off so that you know
then
when
mystery
you're
person.
on deck.
Hi, all. My name is Michael Serrano. In respect for your time, I'll be as brief as possible. I've been with the Boulder Public Library since before I became a district. First as a day porter, then as a custodian, and now as the lead custodian. I've been part of the union organizing committee for nearly as long. I want to thank the board for all your time and consideration in working to create a policy which will be a first for library district unions in Colorado. I would just like to add also that there is no defined process for mediation when negotiations break down in the current policy. We leave both workers and management without a structured path forward. An impasse procedure creates a responsible step in between a contract dispute and more serious escalation. It protects continuity of service for the public by helping both sides resolve disagreements without disruption. Impasse procedures are specifically designed to avoid work stoppages and keep critical services running while still respecting workers' rights. And while Colorado law recognizes that public workers have qualified right to strike, a strong mediation and impasse framework ensures that striking is truly a last resort and not the first option when challenges arise at the bargaining table. We encourage you to consider the points brought up by myself and colleagues tonight while in executive session. Thank you for your time.
All right, Piatra?
I think that was gonna be your place.
Oh, okay, maybe they
I think
signed
they
in.
signed in when they came.
Okay, thank you. Gotcha. They thought they were signing in. Okay. So Nicholas.
Hi, my name's Nicholas Bozick, and back in the day, I was a very delinquent kid. But librarians in particular took an interest in me. Melanie has always been my mentor for my entire life, and she was able to find me a position on the Boulder Teen Advisory Board back in the day. From there, I learned how all these boards work. I used to show up to all the library commission meetings during the redesign to fight for a different teen space than what they had set aside for us. I was able to turn that around and end up getting an award from the city for this, all thanks to the work from the librarians here. All I ask is that you all remember that there are many stories like mine that aren't being told. People who weren't on the outskirts let aside, and then the librarians gave us a place to be. The staff there allowed us a place to be who we are and to truly live how we should. And I just ask you when you make these decisions to remember these unsung pillars of the community, and really, we should support them as best we can as people. Thank you.
All right.
And there's the Marsha also wants to come on.
Marcia, can you come on screen and identify yourself so I can write your name down?
Hi, yes.
Rojas, okay. All right, go ahead. Marcia?
Where's Marsha?
I'm taking place.
Hello, Marcia. Can you hear us? We lost you. Come back.
Oh, sure. Okay.
All right, you back?
Yes, I am. Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right.
My name is Marcia, and I live in Boulder County, and I just want to show general support for the services you all provide. I am pretty strongly addicted to Libby and to some of the events that you guys have around like seed and gardening things. And as a master gardener, I've also gone and volunteered for some of that. And I just wanted to also express my support for basically like all staff being included in the union. I think that as a community, it is important to support everyone. And so for everyone to have a voice in that is important. And that's all I have to say.
All right, anyone else that missed the sign-up sheet in here that wants to speak or
Just a moment.
Sure, you 3 minutes. You tell me who you are and
My name is Stephen Voida, Voida. My family is residents of North Boulder. We have been users of the North Boulder Library for a very long time. And I just want to speak on behalf of our librarians, especially through COVID. We have 2 small children in our household, currently 8 and 14. The library was a direct and very important connection for them through the pandemic. It was one of their few social outlets where they was able to come and retrieve materials and have the support of their librarians. Our library staff has worked diligently and incredibly hard all the way through the pandemic and the transition to the library district. And our family supports what our librarians offer all the time. We would love to see them have a voice at the collective bargaining table so that their continued well-being and participation as members of the community would be fulfilled to the fullest. Thank you so much.
thank you. Okay, so I'm going to close public comment. No objections, okay. Pass that down to I'm going to switch up the order of the agenda quickly here. I think first we'll consider approval of the meeting minutes from February 10th and 17th. Go ahead.
I just have one suggested change on page 4 of the packet in agenda item number 3. I think what we intended there in the second sentence is several raised concerns around specific terms of the draft policy. These comments included requests for clarification on negotiability. So just add the word requests for.
Okay. Any other comments on the meeting minutes from either the 10th or the 17th? Can we get a motion to, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 10th and 17th.
As amended.
As amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Good, those passed. And then we have the trustee recruitment update. And we just had the great turnout for the, thank you Nadine and Kara for hosting the Q&A session. I think that went really well. We had a bunch of people here and some great questions. I think I just want to, so the applications are due by March 20th, and I believe your first meeting is March 23rd, which is so Friday to Monday. So in the, like last year, I shouldn't say it's a tradition, but last year we did hold a meeting in between to pick candidates, but it doesn't appear like we're gonna have the time to do that because they're gonna pick the candidates the following Monday. So I wanted to talk about that and
Pick the candidates, you're saying, or the candidate?
To pick the people who will be interviewed.
the interview. Yeah, I'm sorry. Last year we held a meeting that where we recommended, you were part of that.
Yeah, no, I was part of it.
And then and so I think that the selection committee is still looking for recommendations from us on who we would like to who we think is suitable for the position. And so the problem is that with the short turnaround between the application due date and the county and city meeting, I don't think we're gonna have time to meet. Mainly because I'll be on a plane on the 20th and then.
Well, it's a weekend.
And it's a weekend, yeah.
When are they actually starting interviews?
Not,
It's the following week.
The following week.
The following Monday.
Have we asked them if they'll just push their selection date by a few days? I mean, like, they're not gonna look at it over the weekend either.
it sounded like that was the only date
I
they
think
gave
it's-
you, right?
Yeah. That's the
It's
only
more,
one.
yeah, they're very, it's the county commissioners are very tough on their schedule. And if you push it, they're gonna push for like, it'll push back like a month or something.
So they're meeting on that Monday?
They're meeting on that Monday to pick the people to be interviewed.
To be
but not
interviewed.
to interview.
Yes.
And
to
the
keep
interviews of the.
The interviews are the
So-
following week. think,
the following week.
Can we work over the weekend, you and I, and
So-
then make a recommendation?
well, and I think what I would say is that
I'm happy to do
we'll
that.
get the applications on the Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think if folks here have, want to take a look at them over the weekend and have time and then want to send Nadine and I your feedback, then we can do
I
that.
mean, it's not till like 11 on that
Yeah,
Monday,
we
so.
can, it's like a send it by Sunday morning,
I
and
was
then
gonna say, yeah.
we'll send the final.
Pick a
We're
deadline.
going to be in the meeting,
Oh, yeah.
so we can just provide feedback, yeah.
I was thinking, I don't know if this can we do like a form to have the people's names and then the trustees could select the names, and that would probably be a meeting, right? Yeah, I think so.
I think if you just recommend, like each person who chooses to do so, recommends their top 3 or 4 or 5 candidates and sends them in directly. Well, it should be to one of you. And copy me and Celia, and we'll track it.
Yeah.
Last time around there was a remarkable amount of unanimity, right? There were 37 applicants, but it was fairly unanimous who the top 5 or 6 were. And so the drawback is it's not a public process. And that is a real advantage. There's a lot of library districts around the state have no idea how board members are selected. And ours is a pretty transparent process. We're pretty proud of that, but that's the only drawback. It says it won't be a public process.
So my recommendation then would be is pick, like, we kind of talked about this at the last meeting. You pick 3. You get 3 votes, okay? You get 3 votes, rank them 1, 2, and 3, and then send them to Celia and Kara
And David.
and David, and then they'll compile a list, and you'll tell us who all got the most votes.
Yeah, we'll sign point value.
And just send them by end of day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Then
Sorry.
what do we have to do on Monday?
We'll just
Copy
be,
invite, but-
I think we'll be mostly listening, and if they ask for.
Well,
we'll give
but
it.
last time we did provide them a memo that said, here's the top 3 picks, or here was the top 5. Did we just say who
We did, and then they'll go through a same process like that we're going through right now. They'll rank and pick their own, and like what was crazy last year was their names were literally the same as our names. So,
Okay.
and I don't know that would happen again, so.
But so in that first meeting, did they ask you specifically, like, who were your top, or how, like, what was your involvement in that
I
meeting?
feel like we put it in writing, did we not?
Yeah, I wrote a memo.
Yeah, I remember.
Those
we
memos
did,
that
yeah.
I would be from last year's packet, were they?
Yeah.
But we also.
Also with the names and rationale, or?
Or just the names, I feel like.
If there were like last year we had particular qualities we were looking for, and I think that's what, did that right, Nita, that you put that in the memo?
Yeah, but I think it was mostly conversational too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's important that you all are aligned with the feedback that you're getting from the board, just in terms of characteristics or strengths that we were looking for. Because that was a big add-on that we really pushed for last year, was to be able to recommend for the process.
For a
right?
particular reason.
Yeah.
So I guess again, if to the extent you are able, if you want to provide a list of your recommended candidates, and then also when you do that, provide some rationale, so that we can put something together and present.
And Karen, Nadine, when you do the memo, can you put in there that these are the board's recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for interviews?
Yeah.
Not for candidates.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yep.
And then I think I guess last year we empowered the committee to make decisions on, they said this person over that person, or whatever, and to communicate the board's needs. And I think I feel like we should still do that. I see a lot of nods, so I'm assuming that. And then I think also, I do think it would be nice to send them an email, or maybe Celia could send it Monday morning, or we could provide it during with our votes, and I'd say, I'll tell folks, the trustees, get your picks to Kara and Celia by Sunday at, say 2:00 or something. And then hopefully Monday morning we can get out a memo that just summarizes everything.
Okay.
summarize as a fix.
But you'll be in the meeting.
No, we will.
Those two will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So a memo to whom?
To
them?
to
Or
the
to just
committee.
us?
To us and the committee, I think it would just say, here's the
Top five.
Yeah, I mean,
Top five.
depending on what I get, I'll put together some kind of overview.
Right.
That's like, we generally agree on these people, here's why. And then I can get that to them before the meeting, but we'll also be there to talk about it.
Yeah.
I would just prefer to Kara.
Okay, no memo or?
If there is not unanimity, because there's feasibly 21 candidates that you can have, you cannot, you have 21 applicants, and you guys can feasibly rank 21 candidates.
But that's what I'm saying, is it depends on what I
Then you have
get.
to trust Kara.
If that's what I get, then that is probably what I would tell the selection committee, right? Like, that we were not unanimous, but here's the rationale for the people who were kind of present to the top and, you know. Like,
Also-
I'm not gonna present, well, I'm only gonna present what I get, so that's, you know.
I mean, anything, at least from my view, we are empowering them.
Yeah.
And to the extent that you have your own opinions, we're trusting you with them. So.
Well, I think that'll be the next part of this discussion is, I think we'll just go around, if you want to say to the committee, you know, if we, and maybe we don't have an agreement on skills or whatever we want, but, you know, what kind of direction should we give them? Like, what kind of skills are we looking for? Types of people. Like, I don't think we have, like last year we were kind of preferring people from the county, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't know if we put that in the memo, but we were, because we were gonna, you know, but I think demographically from county city perspective, we're okay now. We don't need to favor a candidate from one area or another. I'm sorry, from outside the city versus inside the city. So does anybody else have any, like, characteristic they think the board could use?
Well, I think, given some of the stuff that's coming up with us around finance, that someone more out of that space, and no offense to my 3 lawyer friends, but I think we can make it a year with just 2.
That's what I thought too, someone with like more finance or like accounting and used to living in this world.
So, but yeah, other than that, that would be the diversity I would.
Well,
And I like, when we had this conversation in the open last year, you brought it up. I like the gender split on the board. I would be inclined to keep it in the fourth split that it is.
I was gonna say, geographically, if, when I leave, does anyone else live in a county besides me?
No, but the average, if it's to be representative, it's on 1.4. 1.4 over the course of a 10-year period.
I'm
So it's
more than one
yes.
person. Yeah, point more than another.
Thus far, you've had 2 at all times.
Yeah.
And so like over a 10-year period, you probably already accounted for it. You could go probably 3 years from now, because you're on for 4 more years. Yeah, so you can probably go 3 more years from now to county representatives to be back.
Gotcha, okay, that's what I was
I
trying to
think the
understand.
10 applies to.
Right.
You know, if it's 50% applicants from the county, 50% applicants from the city, I'm not even considered it. If it's 1 applicant from the county and a bunch of applicants from the city, then yeah, maybe it's not necessarily need the county person.
And I take their qualifications over their geography.
I think that's, I'd also say lovers of the library, fierce, you know, defenders of our mission and our, you know, especially the Library Bill of Rights and the things that we said we've done. That for me, those are important things. And, you know, that someone that has showed that they, you know, are behind their own convictions, I guess. All behind their own.
But it doesn't have to be someone who's like a classic board member.
No.
We want we
No.
have a nice mix of people. I think we want to continue to encourage that.
I would just add to the word finance in terms of expertise, public finance is what we're talking about here, not just business finance or private finance or capital finance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Sunday at 2. Sorry.
By 2?
The 20.
Let's say by the end of the day, I work
Okay,
late.
thank you.
Okay.
For 3 o'clock on my
That's fine.
6 p.m. on the 22nd.
Okay.
Well,
just let's be realistic.
Yeah. And we'll send it to Kara and David and Celia, and they'll.
Again, like I said, I will, my goal will be just to sort of summarize what I get from you all, and if that is, a clear direction, then that's what I'll say, and if it's not, then that will also be what I say, so.
Well, you could have, 10 people that are like.
Talk to your votes in at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we'll all be on the same page.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean. So, I wasn't part of it last year, so. Okay, well, that's all I have on that. I wanted to put that at the beginning, because we're fresh. And I didn't want to wait till 9 p.m.
Just one request, and that is that we give the applicants in alpha order, not necessarily whenever it was that they submitted their application, so that it's easier to just sort.
By first or last name, what do you think?
Last name.
Last name, okay. Even you, Benita, you'd be at the front.
It's either a B or a D.
You'll win either way.
Yeah, you win both. Okay.
I know, and I was an R before, so I moved down.
All right, that concludes that portion. So we're going to move to executive session and consider the public comment and that sort of thing. So I'm going to read this statement, and then someone will make a motion, and then someone will second it, and then we'll vote by 2/3. So upon motion made and approved by at least 2/3 of the trustees present, the board may enter into executive session for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions provided by the district's special counsel regarding worker unionization and collective bargaining as allowed under CRS section 246402-4B. So motioned?
So motioned.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. So we're going to move into executive session. All right.
To find a seat for Jamie.
Is she here? Oh, she's here.
I recognize.
10 minutes, so call it an hour?
Yeah, I think it'll be a shorter, but I think we already know what it is. We don't know. Sorry, to get all this in. It's just, long meeting. I want to keep going. Do I have to say anything, Cam?
No, we'll have the language.
Okay. All right. So the board reviewed the suggestions from the union. So I'm just going to go through the email that was in the package and talk about these and what the board is going to make changes based on some of these comments that we will review at a later date. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So the first one was service model and staffing levels referred to as, I think this email and these comments summarize our position on that it's not meant for safety and health. So we're not going to make any changes based on, or we're not going to consider any changes based on that comment. The second bullet point is the board will outline a process to determine level of support. Under that bullet point, I believe this summary outlines what we think would be the next steps. I think that if the board votes to approve this policy, then they would, go to, we'd pick some third party with your union rep, agree on somebody to validate union cards and then determine level of support. So I think that's pretty clear. Under the third bullet point, how to handle an impasse. The board is going to consider some language and then put it in the policy on how to handle an impasse. I don't have that language in front of me, but we are going to consider some language for that. And then under 6A, this is the next bullet point, the organizers asked if they could add representation to 6A. The board will consider that to 6A and consider adding and representation under 6A. Bargaining unit compensation under subs.
Composition.
What's that?
Composition.
Composition, not compensation.
Oh, did I say compensation? Bargaining unit composition. Under the subs, we have included exceed 90 days or 500 hours, and I think the board is saying that temporary employees, temporary employees who have worked, and we're gonna strike less than we're gonna consider striking less than 500 hours and then or. So temporary employees that work less than 90 days would not be part of the bargaining unit is what the board considered based on, and will consider. All right, if I've gotten any of these wrong, you want to speak up too. Under managerial, executive, and confidential employees under section 5, the board will consider adding a definition of supervisory and getting rid of executive, which will include something around managing 2 or more employees. We'll put it in the draft. And so it'll say supervisory or confidential employees is what we're going to consider.
And we'll add a definition of that.
And add a definition for both. So that's, and then employees in the human resources, and the board has agreed that they'll strike finance, that will consider striking finance and information technology departments. So those will be it, and that's it. So
there was one more.
Was there one more?
Yeah, about oh no, sorry. The impasse.
The impasse, we talked about that.
So Andy's gonna draft a new version that we'll review before our next meeting.
Yeah, so Andy's gonna draft that based with legal counsel, wherever she went to, I guess she left. And circulate that. I guess the question is, I think, I'd rather we'll just handle this at our next, my recommendation would just handle it. Do we need a special meeting or do we handle it at our next regular meeting, which will be like the 20th April?
The question is probably how much more discussion folks want to put into this if we are reasonably comfortable with the draft that we're gonna amend to. I think, the next meeting's fine. If folks wanna have another 2 hours of discussion, I think we might wanna consider a special meeting.
So we're not going to have, I thought this was a special meeting. And then.
This is a regular.
This is our regular meeting because our meeting's not.
Possible special meeting would have been on the 24th.
Correct.
Yeah. We could be on the 24th, or we could look at this in the April meeting. I think our goal would be to vote on a draft at the next meeting.
Well, unless they have
unless there's yet another set of changes that
comments, but then we could either just vote them up or down, and we pretty much agreed to most of the things.
I think we've taken a lot.
I would not agree to, but we're going to consider most of the things.
But just for the record, I will not be at the April 21st meeting.
Okay, so do folks feel we need another special meeting, or?
I think we can cover it at the April meeting.
Okay.
I think the other question about a special meeting though is if half the agenda we're not going to get to tonight, we might need a special meeting anyway. So maybe we hold on the question and see how much more of the agenda we get through, and we just agree to bring this up at our next meeting, regardless of when that is.
Yep, that's what I was going to suggest.
What were you going to suggest? Sorry.
that we see at the end of this meeting
where we're at. Okay.
Let's see how many other agenda items
and
we
what
don't get to. And
what kind of ugly the April meeting would look like if we didn't have a special meeting.
Well, April, yeah. Okay. So that.
And that would be your last meeting.
Unless we have a special meeting in May before they appoint that new.
Right.
Just keep stacking up and keeping me around.
We'll do weekly meetings until you come back.
We don't appoint anyone until after the April meeting, though.
The new meeting,
Yeah, they just come in May.
Okay.
according to the bylaws, they're seated at the first regular
So
meeting.
we really should avoid pushing this past April, or we're gonna have an entirely new board member to just be on.
Correct.
I mean, that's
And
my,
the board officers.
and more, yeah. That would be my recommendation, but,
Okay.
this process is taking is what, I mean, I think it does show, from my own personal view, is how much we should not be involved in the negotiation of the, if there is a collective bargaining, if we go to that as a board, because we would never get anything done.
Well, just to clarify for folks too, so the process here would potentially be sometime in the next few weeks, we come up with an updated draft. At our next meeting, the board discusses that draft, ideally votes on that draft unless we need to make additional changes. Once we vote on that draft, depending on which way we vote, if we vote in favor of the draft, that'll then trigger David and his folks starting the process of validating union support. Once that's done, we would then have a second vote on whether to ultimately recognize the union. So we're still effectively 2 votes away from potential union recognition.
Yeah, so it's gonna get probably punished.
Yeah, so the union recognition part's almost certainly going to fall on the new board, not the current board, but
Yeah.
this policy might be done with this board.
Correct.
I said this before, and we changed it, so I still like the policy, I don't wanna change it anymore. So, and, but, I think we've, gone as far as I can go. Okay, so we'll talk about special meeting at the end of this thing. Because then the next one will be nobody will be available. So. All right,
So I guess.
what do you wanna do next?
Yeah, Jennifer, what has to happen tonight?
So
We have to go.
we have to do 7B, and then we have to do 9A, B, and C.
Okay.
Well, 7A has already been reviewed, right?
It has.
A, been reviewed, if we think we can keep this part to 5 minutes, then we can definitely do that and then go on to 9, and we'll come back at the end of this meeting.
Okay.
Sure.
So, I'm not gonna belabor it, are there any questions on the main library Canyon Theater use policy, 7A? We reviewed it last time, mainly it's just a reorganization of the policy to put some of the salient figures back up front. So is that a policy that you feel like now that we've been advised on?
You pulled out the exceptions, which was one issue I had, so I'm happy with it.
And so can we then just have a vote, pass that policy?
Are folks comfortable voting, or do they want more time to review?
Ready to go.
Okay. Then I motion we vote to approve the Boulder Public Library District Community Collaborations and Cooperation Agreement Policy and Process.
Second.
Wait, sorry, which?
No.
No,
it's the first one.
Well, I'm happy to do that too, I mean.
Well,
just
let's type that.
Yeah,
Okay.
So 7A
I
is the theater
vote
policy.
the Boulder, I'm making a motion to approve the Boulder Public Library District Main Library Canyon Theater use policy.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so 7B, which is significantly revised. So the question you got last time, whether or not something to do with the exception, we did find a way to go back and rewrite the entire policy. There was not an exception, but the policy was written as a collaboration policy and not a partnership policy. And you can see the details of what we did is basically we folded the idea of Sundance, but potentially other groups as well, back into how the policy is written, so that it's a single policy that applies to both rental uses and also use of the space for free. It can be both. It's just a decision about what that collaboration will look. That's the gist of the changes to the policy. And I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any specific questions about the collaboration policy.
The only question I had is you have some language in here around like an annual review of collaborations that come into us, but that we can, the library, at their discretion. I mean, I guess my understanding is if the other organizations come to us, you're only going to review it once a year, but you're reserving the ability to do other things whenever you feel like it. Is that the intention?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's fine. I just want to make sure the once a year thing.
We're only obligated to review applications every year.
Okay.
But we can choose to review an application of interest, an area of interest at any
Okay, so like the Sundance policy that we are reviewing now, and not having to wait till once a year date to do it. Okay.
And some of the groups that will probably be considered as a collaboration, so there are no collaborations with, it's just gonna be a new policy that we're looking for.
We already have this policy?
No.
Okay, this is a new one.
This is brand new.
Okay.
We presented it last month as a partnership policy.
Okay.
There were questions about the exceptions that were being made for Sundance. So we
Okay.
figured out the policy to fold the exceptions into the overall policy, which allows for more general discretion about how those spaces might be used. So the most standard, we can lease the
They
space.
approved this policy last
Yeah,
time.
we
did.
And so then we sent it with the Sundance agreement and asked Kim's team to review it, and they marked up the policy so it would allow us the greatest amount of flexibility. So we're asking for you to vote again on this one. But they did approve it last time. They just didn't approve the theater policy because they had some questions about how the two interplayed.
And we do have the markup in here, so it's
Yeah.
basically we're voting on amendment to the policy we approved last year.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Okay.
So I would, can you take a motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I would move approval of the, as presented, the community collaborations and collaboration agreements policy and process. Policy.
Second.
Before we, my only thing about this was this indemnification and liability requirement, and how hard would it be for community groups to meet that one? And can we waive it, or, because like if I held a meeting here, I'm not agreeing to indemnify.
Yeah, but you're not gonna,
It's not a-
there's no collaboration.
No, I get that, yeah.
I think we have the capacity within the thing to waive it, but we probably want to bring that to the board of a group.
And review it with our insurance carrier too.
Yeah, so if it's Sundance, they can get their own insurance. If it's the Taco Fest.
Jail it does,
They-
Taco Fest does.
Okay, so these are bigger events.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these all come to the board ultimately anyway, right? Like, it sounds like the way the policy is written, the library director would make a recommendation to the board, and we would ultimately decide which of these 10 things to. Is that your understanding?
Certainly for signing.
And like
If it's not a contractual obligation, then probably not.
Okay.
There are two halves to this, but on the collaboration agreement staff, that's the part that we.
This will facilitate some of the activity that happened last year. I can't remember the name of the group. It was associated with El Centro de Amistad. We did a 2-day event here. We allowed them to charge a recovery cost. There was an exception to the policy. We didn't build anything that was really to pay for the performers and the food that they wanted to have some money. And then negotiate on the thing to allow free bins. That would not be something we would bring before the board. If we had a contract like we're proposing with Sundance, that we could bring that forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So I just didn't want this to be a hurdle to that El Centro Amistad group or something like that. Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. So I'll hold the vote. Is everyone in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay. So we passed that. All right. My brain says we should slow down because we're moving fast, but okay. Next item. You want to do?
Would be 9A. So you have the Sundance letter of intent. My assumption is that you read it. We also have in the packet, I believe,
We have a markup separate from the packet for the Dropbox agreements. And so all of these David can sign with your authorization.
There's 4 things. We need action on the Sundance letter of intent. Don't we have a lease in this packet?
Is there a lease in that?
It's an example. We're only signing the letter of intent, and that binds us to a 90-day negotiation period with Sundance, during which we will negotiate that agreement. But we included the agreement because the original letter they sent us had a lot of specific provisions that we couldn't agree to in a letter of intent. So we wanted to demonstrate to them that we are willing to negotiate these kind of points.
Okay. Are you gonna bring the formal agreement back to us then?
I think.
Yeah, you will,
yeah.
Because you have to sign it, it's a lease.
Okay.
Who proposed the weekly rental rate? Did Sundance suggest that, or did we have that number?
We did. It's we tend to strive to have the cheapest
venue in town. And I think that market bears it.
And would the goal be that this would ultimately then just offset the costs that we're putting into helping staff and run this? Or like, what is that money? Does that money just go into our general fund and offset other stuff?
No, I don't know. I think we'd probably go into general fund and offset other stuff. It's not a
It'd be a revenue.
Yeah, it's a
And
revenue.
we'd either appropriate it or forward the fund balance.
And are we, I know this commits us to, like, are we expecting that there's a lot of library staff time that's gonna get spent on this? Or do we think it's mostly we'll turn the space over to Sundance and they'll run the show from there?
Partly what the draft lease stipulates is that most of the responsibility is theirs, and that was not how the initial letter of intent from Sundance.
So the security is going to be there.
Outside of library.
They pay for that.
Yeah, it'll be theirs, but if it's during regular library hours, we have security.
So we're not necessarily expecting to incur significant additional cost here, but we will be getting some rent offset. And then most of the extra costs we're assuming will fall on Sundance directly for after hours.
We are hoping to incur no additional costs. It's a small pittance of the revenue.
Right.
And the dates of the lease period, does that displace existing things that are scheduled or have been scheduled?
Yeah, but they're not scheduled now.
So
That's how it
that's
works.
where we set
It's not
aside.
reserved yet.
Yeah, we set aside 2027 as a request
Request of the city, I don't know, some time ago. And so it's not an imposition on us, but they did ask for a longer period of time than we anticipated. So we thought it was 3 weeks and they're asking for 4, which is fine. I mean, it's not a great imposition.
Are there any other upgrades they're looking to make to the space? I know there've been some previous discussions about them.
We've heard that.
Okay. So presumably they'd mostly bring in temporary equipment and haul it all out when they're done.
And tents, and get permits for it, and a lot of those things.
How disruptive do we think this is going to be to regular library services during that month? Will, like, people still be able to access the makerspace, stuff of that variety?
The access to the makerspace is a great question.
Because that is one of the things that we'll have to issue with them in the course of the lease. They had hoped that people could queue up inside and go back around the building, and we said no. So that's again, like, that's one of the things that we're gonna have to negotiate. And I think they'll probably have to, they'll be very expensive putting tents outside if it's inclement weather to have lines of people outside.
So our goal is, when we get to the actual lease, to try to maintain access to, beyond the theater itself, the other library services in this building.
Yeah. The building 61 is the main one, but the resource services, like all of the materials that we buy and process and go out to all the different buildings comes here and then goes out across the bridge. So that's a regular, mostly happens early in the morning, but the transfer of stuff, but it can happen anytime regular.
So that other board that I serve on, when I asked the Sundance representative, because this related to their loan of $15 million for improvements to facilities, I asked about the library, and they had said that it was just going to be used or the theater, for speakers, but not for film.
That's how they designated us in the announcement.
So yes, I think it's
That's still true, okay.
Hopefully big time directors.
Kim, I assume you can check this, but I had to go look it up in the IGA. It does, so we do have the right to sublease the area, but only to nonprofits, right? So like we wouldn't actually be able to enter into a lease like this if they weren't a nonprofit.
Gosh, I don't know.
I think the IGA says you can only sublease to nonprofits, so I think we're okay, but I
And they
assume
are-
somebody
they
other
are
than me,
nonprofit.
I assume someone other than me looked at the IGA and made sure we're okay here.
I didn't look at that because I didn't remember that provision, but I will.
Yeah, you don't want me being the only one looking
I've
at it,
always
so you
assumed
should
we had the power to.
go double check it.
I didn't realize it was limited to nonprofits, makes sense.
There's some language in there about like making sure it aligns with library uses and stuff too, so like, go double check it. It sounds like really that's a question before we sign the lease.
There was language added in here that you'll see repeatedly that says an identifiable public purpose of the library. That's good.
Okay.
But they're a nonprofit.
They are a nonprofit. I think we're
Yes,
okay,
that's what I'm
but
saying
someone
too.
who isn't a lawyer should make that determination, or someone who is a lawyer should make that determination.
All right, so let's vote on whether we can authorize David to enter in this letter of intent. I'll make a motion that we authorize David to enter into this letter of intent.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next is the Dropbox.
Dropbox. So you can see in the packet, there are two proposals for adding election drop boxes at Gun Barrel and at Novo libraries.
The red line version is separate from the packet, was that your play?
Oh, yeah.
And the red lines are from, we haven't shared the red lines with the county yet.
I'm sorry, who are the red lines from?
Yes.
And essentially, all the red lines do is confine the camera to the ballot box in addressing our privacy issues.
And it sounded like there's also provision here that confines the recording to the period of time between ballots being mailed and the 7 p.m. on election day, basically.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. The one question I had here, and I assume we deal with this already, because the library is also a polling place, but it has the no electioneering within 100 feet. These ballot boxes are within 100 feet of like our public bulletin boards, at least at the Novo Library.
So the way
I measured, they are where they want to put it's within 100 feet of the bulletin board in Novo.
But
at
it's
least according to Google or.
The way it works though is not like this because I've gotten in trouble, not in trouble, but I've clarified with election workers. They define a path to the ballot box, and the path is that's the 100 feet. So you could be like under it, but if you're not on that path, you're not part of the.
I mean, like I said, we presumably dealt with this because
They're pretty serious. We will comply with the Board of Elections in whatever manner they choose to. I don't believe they've ever mentioned our bulletin boards, and I have to go back and look and see if we actually pull stuff off the bulletin boards.
Well, and
I don't think we have.
even worse than the bulletin board would be, what if they want to come to the library and remove the book by the candidate who's on the ballot? Also, we have bookshelves within 100 feet of the ballot box. Like, I mean, it sounds like they've never litigated this, but do we want anything in this contract that makes it clear that regular library material does not count as electioneering?
That's a good point. So what are you asking us? Do we have to approve this as amended by Kim or?
Well, it's again,
just consider it?
We would send it back to them. We would like your approval to agree to Kim's edited version, so we can send it back to the county and see if the county is not just.
And so. And we have to make this decision tonight?
We need to do it
pretty soon. Okay.
I would like to get the conversation going.
Yeah, it is. You know, I apologize if
To
it's
do it tonight, because it's like, next week's in April.
Yeah. So I
The
guess.
boxes are gonna need to be here like a week later, so.
I guess like, but we're having to review all this on the fly. I guess maybe my thing would be maybe is the board okay with having the ballot boxes on library property, on these two properties? And then I think we would say, then we would allow David and Kim to negotiate the contract. And ultimately, I'll sign it. Is that okay in between now and?
Kim said David can sign it.
Yeah, he can if you approve it.
Okay.
The gist of the change, the gist of the amendments that Kim's made is all about lighting security cameras. And the security cameras is one that's important for us in terms of.
That's the one I brought up.
Yeah, well, you had a different point. Your point was that.
I don't want to be responsible for the
In
stupid
any
cameras.
way having access, and I assume that's the case. I think it's on their servers. We don't have any access to these camera footage, and so we have no means of reviewing it. What we're trying to protect against is the privacy of individual users who are coming into the library who may get picked up on this camera. And so that's what Kim's language is about. The light is one that I don't think we're gonna have to install lights. I think both those areas are fine, well lighted. And it's just trying to make clear that the expense is theirs and not ours. And if it's unnecessary, we don't need to do it. We don't need to put in extra lights. So no, I don't believe it's probably necessary.
It does say we'll provide them with an internet connection for the video cameras. Is that something okay? I mean, I don't have any objections to it. I want to make sure as a technical matter, we're not making a ton of work for Amy.
I don't think it is.
And I was assuming they would use wireless.
Yeah, I assume it's just you're whitelisting them on the guest network or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, as long as we're comfortable with it.
Yeah, and the other issue I had is just like security, safety of patrons with, I don't know, we get protesters or anything, but the library staff is, I think, well versed in how to keep patrons safe. So I think, if they have any issues, they'll call the police or, they'll get the county to come out and handle any of the violations of the, that would be one clear.
If we notice anything, I don't think they're asking us to take any kind of responsibility.
Yeah. So
that's my understanding.
I think it's a good idea to have ballot boxes at the libraries. I support it in principle.
Especially Gun Barrel, because the one is at a brewery right now, so.
I mean, I support allowing David to kind of move forward with negotiating this. I would, as an intellectual matter, but it would be interesting to ask the county how they deal with the electioneering role with a building full of materials.
Yeah, they've never brought it up. They've been here before many times.
Right, because they do use the other building as a polling location.
They used to change the locks on the doors. I don't know that they did that the last time around, I think, but I mean, it's pretty serious business. They take it all very seriously. We have to grant them exclusive access for the period of time they're here when they're in the space. But they've never brought up books or I don't think they've ever even brought up bulletin board.
Okay.
So I might have missed it, but I didn't see the dates. So if this is for the June primary and for the November general.
This is we installed in April and in perpetuity. They would do that
Okay.
forever until they decide to take them out.
10 years.
Well,
The agreement is 10 years on page 75 of the packet or page 3 of the agreement.
10 years.
Yeah, because there's all the other boxes.
They're, yeah, no, I just didn't, I didn't
All
see it
year
in
round.
front of us.
All right. So I think we I think this vote would be to authorize David and negotiate and sign this lease. So I'll make a motion to authorize David to negotiate the mailbox Dropbox agreement and sign it on behalf of the library.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Awesome. So the E-rate letter of intent is the next item in the packet. And I know there were some questions, and so, as you remember from last year, we have a contract currently. We decided to begin applying for E-rate, which allows for reimbursable costs from the federal government. It's a federal grant that would be reimbursable for some of the costs that we have. What we discovered in that process is that there's a certain amount that applies to us in a 5-year period of time. The $252,000, whatever, in your packet are things that we need now that are eligible for reimbursement. And so we're asking for you to agree to, again, enter into a letter of intent to negotiate the contracts with Focus Connect, who will be the proprietor who's applying for the E-rate for us. And I know that there's some confusion as it says, you're going to save $252,000, but you're also asked to expend $250,000. We have to expend $252,000 in order to be reimbursed for it. We haven't decided, given that there's a cap on how much we can get for 5 years, if we're going to ask for the full reimbursement for the $252,000. We may decide to opt for only a partial reimbursement because we know that there are other things we may need in the next 3 or 4 years. We could ask for 100% reimbursement of all of these costs. So that's why it says at one point that you'll save $252,000, and then also you have to pay $253,000. We are buying things that are all E-rate reimbursable. Did I get that right, Amy?
100%.
Yeah.
Nice job.
So, and then you'll request reimbursement.
For a part of it.
These are things we have to buy anyway.
We have to buy them.
And they're already
budgeted.
They're already budgeted. It's not incremental to your budget, right?
Correct.
But we might get back.
You can get as much as 100% back or as little as 50%. It's up to me. It's basically a lump sum I get to spend over 5 years. And I can spend 252 this year on everything, or I can take a less and pay more and then use that money in the next 3 or 4 years.
So over 5 years, we
Over
get
5
$250,000
We have
reimbursed.
this is federal money, right?
Yes.
Do we think that federal money is going to continue to exist over those years? Or are we better off grabbing it while it's here?
No, at least for the next 5 years. It's secure
appropriated.
because this is the first year of the 5 years.
But the funding's been appropriated.
I can't answer that question. I don't know. The consultant I work with is fairly confident.
They're even expanding. They did a pilot project over the last 3 years with cybersecurity, and they're fairly confident that is going to continue into 27 and beyond. So
We may ask for all the time. The thing that we're trying to figure out, as you remember from like 2 meetings ago, we tasked Amy with coming up with a way to have backup power and backup internet. We don't know what the cost of that is yet. When we initially looked, it was around $500,000, but that we haven't got a hard bid. So we are looking at some of those things now. If it turns out that we want that money for that investment, and that's what the board wants to do, then we'll, if that's a necessary investment, we don't have the money in the pipeline for funding that program. We may decide to only take a portion of the 252 now because we understand that the cost of doing that and the desire to do that is higher than some of the things we have to buy now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
And so that could all happen next year. We could blow through our 750 in 2 years if that's what the direction of the board is and we decide to make those investments. But I think we want to, I wanted to see how much that's going to cost first and what the.
So we think it's 250,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just total.
252 this year.
This
we
year.
Have and then we have 705,000 that we're getting as part of this grant.
Okay.
Over a 5-year period.
Okay. No, okay. All right. Well, shoot. Why not? What would you further?
Is any of the things that are in here, do they require the extension of that library-specific security part of E-Rate, or is this all stuff that's under the more legacy rate?
This is all part of legacy. I have numbers for cybersecurity for 27, but we can't actually get that money until 27, and then we have to apply, just like we applied for these funds. Another unknown is I don't know if that cybersecurity funding will come out of that $705,000 pot, or if there'll be additional funds for that. So.
Okay, and it does look like you have some language in the letter here that does give us an out if, it basically says this is contingent upon the award of the associated E-rate funding. So the anticipation is here, we still have a way out if for some reason this money doesn't materialize.
That's correct. Yes.
But it's already money we budgeted.
Correct.
For this year, so we're spending it, we just may or may not get reimbursed.
We may not use Focus Connect to get reimbursed.
Got it.
So I can't buy this stuff, I have to have a vendor buy it. And so we're going under contract with Focus Connect to buy it on our behalf.
Then they can
give us the discount.
Okay.
And so I know there's a larger discussion, it sounds like we'll be looking at a future meeting about how we want to continue or not our relationship with Focus Connect more generally than just this equipment purchase.
September.
Nothing here binds any of that discussion.
Nope, this is strictly E-rate only.
Okay. All right.
On that point, they were the only company that. No, you don't. So Focus Connect was the only.
You were there.
You reimbursable thing, so yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking for my. Okay, so let's make a. You can figure out if we're gonna get a packet this big, we need like binders, I think, and it's printed on one side. It's hard. I'm sorry, or maybe we can do print on both sides if we have a binder. If we have a binder, they can be printed on both sides. Just because it's hard to leaf through all this stuff. Am I the only one that thinks that?
I have you look at it on my computer.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the E-rate program, letter of intent.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, reading buddies, my favorite. My daughter's a reading buddy.
Hey Doug, I will need a signature by the end of the night.
Oh, okay. Why don't you bring me whatever you want me to
On
sign?
the letter, yeah. No, David can sign it. Oh, David can?
David?
Yeah.
Okay.
They have to sign the
You have to sign the contract.
Yeah, okay.
And we have 60 days or whatever.
What do you want to do next? Reading buddies, just quickly? Or
Yeah, you have the report.
do we have something that's positive and
really
fun?
Really remarkable program. They did a really nice job of putting together an annual report. It's just, it's one of those programs which if you don't know about it, you should, because it's one of the programs that, unsolicited, has a small number of participants. It's a high-touch program that is predominantly volunteers that come from the university. And I swear I read more about the public satisfaction with that program than almost any other program. We always get unsolicited, like, thank you very much, my second grader now loves to read, and my third grader is now just, and the stories are truly amazing. And the kids actually write a book. It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, and if you get to come to a ceremony sometime to see the kids read, it's honestly, it's quite moving. So kids will read their book aloud that they wrote, and some of them are fabulous. Some of the books that they write are just great. They have minds of 9-year-olds, 8 and 9-year-olds.
No, my daughters are reading PAL. I think that's different.
Yeah. So that also, she's a volunteer.
Volunteer reading.
She volunteers to work with same age children, but she's Fairview.
She takes the bus from Boulder High down to Reynolds.
Yeah, so a lot of the kids that are in that program are from Fairview High, but I guess there are some Boulder High kids now that support that program as well. And that program grew up in tandem with what used to be a slightly different program that we partnered with a group at the university on. It's growing. We extended it to 2 lower housing partner sites this year, and I think I mean, clearly it's one of these things where we need to increase the capacity. Like everyone's benefiting from it. It's pretty much capped right now in terms of the number of kids that do it, and it's an after-school drop-in program like it was at the lower housing partner sites. It saw a great deal of traction. Prior to that, we only did it in schools. Or here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's 8:30.
Yep, I can make this quick too.
What do you want? What are you gonna make quick? What's your next piece?
I mean, I'm happy to take you. It's in the packet, right? You read the memo. You saw the PowerPoint. I don't need to go through the PowerPoint, and I don't need to give the memo to you. Like, you guys got what we wanted to talk about. I would love for you to agree on the strategic plan, work plan that we have in front of you tonight, because we provided a work plan for the board over the course of this next time. We're on a pretty strict timeline. The luxury or pain that we had when we were with the city, the strategic planning process took 2 years. We typically fired 2 or 3 consultants in the process, and then Jennifer had to write the whole thing again anyway. So it's like we are proposing a process to knock it out in 8 or 9 months. You have the work plan in front of you. The gist of it is it's not complicated, right? We are in the middle, and I need you to wrap your heads around this, because we are in the middle of a generational decline in revenue for governmental entities in Boulder, Colorado. It's like, I can show you the data for 50 years of an upward trajectory of property tax, of values from which property tax is determined. And for 50 years, it has an annual compound of about 6%, right? So obviously that was more like 4% up until 2012, at which point it jumped to around 10 or 11% annual increases. And now we have been basically flat for 4 years. It has never happened before, and it is happening to us in our first 4 years of existence. Major thing. The other major thing is the way people use the library has changed dramatically in 10 years. In 10 years' time, I mean, we were looking at some of the data today. 10 years ago, digital circulation as a percentage of the total was 4%. Today, it's 53%. If you remove renewals from the system, which we've all agreed that renewals doesn't really count as a use, it certainly counts in terms of our circulation numbers, but it doesn't require action on the patrons' behalf. And we've, for too long, looked at the work we do as it's about the collection, or it's about the space, or it's about something else. What we're trying to determine in the course of this next strategic plan is how has patron use changed, and what do we need to do to change with it? And so that's just one obvious change. Almost every metric, almost all the traditional metrics were up last year. Programming attendance increased by almost 40%. The door count increased by 23%. All of these are great numbers. Circulation increased. But the reality is it's different in the manner in which they are using us. We are heavily subject to, the one place where we did see a profound decline is in public computing, right? So I don't know what to make of that. But it's significant, 75% decline, right, in the use of public computers. So what does that mean? Well, we've spent 20 years trying to create a model where people could actually go online and look for their own books online and put requests in for digital materials. Guess what? It worked. It worked. And now we have to contend with the fact that what does that mean for how we do our business? A lot of the way in which the library is constructed is around, we constructed a model based around, like, we are going to take a book, buy a book, process it, put it on the shelf. Somebody's gonna come in and take the book out, some stranger, come in and take the book home, bring it back, and then we put it on the shelf and make it available to another stranger. That now represents probably only about 32% of our circulation. Whereas in 10 years ago, it was 86%. Those are profound shifts in the way patrons use the public library, and it extends beyond those to what people are doing here in their passive time. It's still the case that children and families make up the bulk of our heavy users, but that population is also in decline as a percentage of the overall group of Boulder. We have a ton of data. We need to start unpacking it and making decisions based upon how patrons have changed using our libraries. So that's the gist of it. I'm happy to take any questions you
So
have
on
on the
page
PowerPoint.
35, we have 4 questions.
Yeah, I was gonna go
Yeah.
through those,
Yeah.
but I think I have some questions on what those mean.
Yeah, please.
So you have option 1 and option 2.
But option 2 includes option 1.
Option 2 includes
Option 2 is option 1 plus.
plus, yeah, but option 1 plus long range service distribution. What is expansion? What is and expansion analysis? But it says community engagement on geographic service model. And the other one is communication on evolving service priorities. What's the difference between those two?
Well, so we've talked about the obvious thing is that and in some sense the decision you make about whether you go a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan is, are we kicking Meadows to a future plan, right? And in some extent, that is my recommendation. I don't think, disregard the fact that the money is not necessarily available. I think that's questionable whether it will be available in 2 years, 3 years. We don't know. The reality is that there's not an obvious solution. Right? We know that Meadows needs improvements. We know that Reynolds needs improvements. We know that because Novo now has the highest door count of all of our branches. We did a playground, a makerspace, all these kind of things. So it's obvious that they probably need some improvements. But is there an obvious solution that makes them suddenly sing and hopping without building a brand new building? I don't know. And where would you build a brand new building?
But what's the so what is community engagement on evolving service priorities? Does that mean which one is the one we kick Meadows down the road or whatever?
The 3-year plan would be kicking Meadows down the
Okay.
And
right.
How do we square that with the fact that Meadows goes poof in 3 years?
We probably have to renegotiate things. Whether it's in the same spot or adjacent.
Obviously, we would incur a significant amount of costs if we move.
And I would argue that we don't know where the right place to move is right now, other than where we are. It gets complicated. The work that we just did, right? The way in which the whole presentation was framed was like, we just added 2 new libraries, the first libraries in Boulder in 30 years. They cover a swath of the public that the library card holders are about 40,000 people. 40,000 people were previously just using other libraries. We've now addressed their needs. Everybody can make it to a library in under 15 minutes, pretty much, with a car. That's a major, major accomplishment. What is the solution in Meadows and Reynolds? Is it just renovating the spaces that we're in? They're less than 11 minutes apart by bike. There's an argument to be made, like, let's merge them. Let's merge one with Carnegie. But there's not a solution, right? We keep talking about these ideas as if they're all possible. I don't think there's an obvious example that says this would solve our problems. Disregard the fact that we don't have the money to do it right now anyway. We don't have the opportunity to build. If we were to build a library in Meadows, for instance, if we were to build or occupy a new space, where's that space go? Does it move from where it is? If it moves further west, does it impact Reynolds' business? If it moves further east, do we lose all the customers that are currently going to it now? Does it include makerspace? Can we really afford operationally to hold 3 makerspaces? I mean, those are all questions that I think we don't have an obvious answer to right now. And so really what we're trying to say is that the 3-year plan is really concentrating on what can we do with the resources that we have now in terms of discovering how use has changed. What things can we do either by subtraction or just better responding to the needs of the customers we have? Is there a way, do we even want to drive the door count up? Is that an objective that we want to have for the strategy? I think we have to discover if that's a reasonable goal. I don't know. We saw a 23% increase in users last year.
it's almost all trackable back to Novo and Gunther. I mean, almost to a number. It's like, it's all just new use, right?
Yeah.
It didn't draw from any other place, so I don't know that there's an obvious solution.
So, so I guess like, should the board, this is the questions you asked.
Yeah.
And I think the three, as I hear from you, for the option one, the 3-year plan is gonna, and it says here, financial stabilization, service alignment, and core facility management. So it's gonna be sort of, building up our defenses and, figuring out where to redeploy resources at the current service levels, at like for digital versus books and that kind of stuff. It's gonna be more tactical, kind of strategic things on here's how library users are using it, and here's what we're gonna do. It wouldn't include things like necessarily combining Meadows into and Carnegie into a nice giant library or whatever.
That's correct.
Okay.
So in 3 years under that plan, we'd be back doing some other scope of planning to try to answer that larger set of questions.
Well, you might have more money.
We might have more money and we
Might have
know more
buildings.
about use.
And we may have a more obvious solution.
Yeah.
So it turns out that like 3 years from now, digital circuit is 70%.
And the only reason the majority reason for somebody goes to, I'm making this up, the majority reason that somebody has for going to the branch is to pick up a hold. And we can do that with lockers. Are we building a building? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we need to discover.
Yeah, you could be like, oh, well, we have the space for Carnegie or the historical upstairs or over down, whatever. So and so that's the first question. So, the second question is, should it evaluate long ranges?
Do we want to just go around and take a vote on the first question?
Well, I think these questions together, like 1 and 2, is like, do you want the 3-year plan? And second one, basically, do you want the 5-year plan?
Yeah.
Just let me read the questions. Are there, should it evaluate long-range expansion options and service model redesign, 5-year plan? Are there additional economic service or use-related issues the strategic plan should address? Man, okay. Yeah. And does the board have questions on the changes of strategic plan? Sorry, I'm not good at reading out loud. And that's why I just wanted to say, so I think based on what you said, we wanted to do a vote. Or go ahead. Does anybody have any comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I have a couple things. One is that one of the things I think about is the term of trustees, right? And so I think about a 5-year plan and how does that fit with an overlap of new board members or continuing board members, and does that seem too long, of a plan for people to really embrace and get into and understand? And, this year it was 1, but then next year it's 2, and we'd be in, we're 1 of a 5-year. I don't know. I think there should be better alignment or thinking about the trustees' terms and how they engage with this. And then my second point had to do with the comp plan, because I see how, it's so integrated into what we say we, align with, and new trustees, and, they're in a comp plan review and update. And I think we should be informed of that and the changes. And I think we should have a comp plan update presented to us as a part of this whole integration. And my third thing is that I think the schedule is aggressive, but I always envisioned that the board was going to have more engagement with this process. And I wonder about like two in one meetings, with you, David, that we could all rotate around and get more in-depth briefing on some of these, different phases and even some of this overview stuff, so that you get some input from the board as you move along, and we're not just doing it at these meetings, but that if people want to get engaged, they, would have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
When you said comp plan, is that the city?
Community.
Yeah.
Or
Boulder Valley.
Yeah.
comprehensive plan.
Yeah, but because we say, but we, like in
Okay.
the application process, we even reference it there as this alignment, and it seems,
It's also in the IGA.
yeah,
Yeah, I just
as
wanna
a
make sure
reference thing, but, you know, so like that should be something that we,
I think well, last year we did the comp plan update in the offsite, and probably do it again, hopefully again, now that is it gonna be finalized?
what did we do last year?
We did a comprehensive plan update, we had them present, somebody, at some point,
We did, we're at the meetings, I think that's where Cindy.
so somebody came to the offsite and they did a presentation I remember seeing a presentation of the comprehensive plan at one of those.
I think so, like 2 years ago, when we were at the,
Okay, was it
at
2 years
the
ago?
bank.
Okay.
The new one's about to come out, I don't know, I don't know if they've.
So they did their first open house briefing tonight
Yeah.
at 4:30, and I didn't go because I was here, but,
Well, we have a staff member there.
yeah, but I mean, we need to absorb that, I think, as part of this.
Okay.
Well, it's a land use plan.
Yeah, I
And to the
understand.
extent that we are consistent with the land use plan, we are, whether it's affordable or not is a discussion that we will have to have, and we're kind of kicking that discussion down the road or not tonight as well. If we agree to the 3-year plan, we're kind of, are we committed to 15-minute neighborhoods as an institution? A lot of institutions are not. But so that's not a question we're going to answer. Right now, we are firmly in alignment with what the comp plan is going to say, the new comp plan is going to say. We are firmly in alignment with it. If changes were to happen, even massive changes like Area 3 and the airport and 55th and Valmont got built out, we're still in compliance with it, right? We're still in compliance with it with the current infrastructure that we have. We may have to make adjustments from a service level perspective, but it's not like we're out of compliance. We have a presence in North Boulder, we have, some presence in East Boulder, and we're within 15 minutes of it.
So what was your first point though? The comp plan, meetings, and then
These options, the 3-year, the 5-year plan.
the board meets.
The trustees in our terms and how.
Oh,
that
in our
lines,
terms, okay.
Like sort of
There's
the
enough
5-year
experience.
terms.
So I think what you're saying
You're
is
questioning whether it makes sense to do a 5-year plan when that means
When
that
that's
you're gonna have people
Right,
turning
there
over
could be
throughout.
like maybe
Yeah.
one trustee that, is sort of aligned with that through.
If I'm hearing you right, you want, your recommendation is the 3 years, is that what I'm hearing you say?
It is. Just because you've seen some of my analysis, I don't think there's an obvious solution
Yeah,
to
and again, like I said, we're gonna,
Building
in the 3-year window, we're gonna know what's happening with the buildings, we're gonna know what's
Yeah.
happening with this building. There's lots of things going on before, so I
And they have a window on the plans.
I would make a motion that we adopt option 1. And give the staff the direction to move forward under option 1.
I think I agree with that. My only caveat would be, I think we should continue to be opportunistic about some of this stuff. If all of a sudden an opportunity pops up, I wouldn't want us to say, well, we didn't get the 5-year plan done, so we're gonna wait another 3 years to move on it.
Well, I think
that's
a given.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the benefit of, well, go ahead, Karen, sorry.
But I was gonna say that as I understand what you're saying, the 3-year plan informs the 5-year plan. So it's not like you're just pretending that's not an issue while you.
Well, and we don't want to ask the questions we'd ask in a 5-year plan now because we just don't know if we're going to have the money to do a pie in the sky thing.
But it's like it's not two totally separate lines of
No.
thinking. It's like one line of thinking that would progress into another
I
set
think
of
we'll
decision
better,
making.
I think we'll better inform the questions for a 5-year plan. Honestly, right now, it's like, if we ask everybody if they want a brand new, big, beautiful library with meeting rooms and study rooms and acre space and all that kind of thing, they're gonna say yes.
Yeah.
And then we say, are you willing to give up your neighborhood library for it? They're gonna say no.
Right.
And so and there's not an obvious place for a regional library that would join Meadows and Reynolds and Carnegie and something makes sense. It's just, there's not that option staring us in the face. Boulder's a place where there's not massive development. It's mostly infill development. There are some developments that are current at present time, but they're in the wrong place, right? They're not in the right place to solve an issue related to Reynolds or Meadows.
But I think my point is just that like a vote for the 3-year and not the 5-year isn't actually a vote against the 5-year. It's just a vote to keep thinking about it and thinking about how to do that.
I know you have a motion out there, Tom, and we'll get to it here in a second. But my 2 cents is that, like, we're in pretty uncertain times, and we have, taxes, we have wars going on, we have lots of things going on, and my reflexive position is to be more defensive and something like, get our financial house in order and get the buckets aligned where we need to be aligned and get the right amounts of capital being saved is how I would go. So I'd prefer option 1 too. So.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the characterization. Like, I want you to pat yourself on the back for what you just did. Like, 2 new libraries, first 2 libraries in 30 years, and they're basically hitting 40,000 people or within driving distance of those, easy driving distance of those libraries. That's a major accomplishment. It hasn't happened in 30 years. It's obvious that the libraries that were built 30 years ago probably need some work, but it's not obvious what the solution is.
Yeah, I get that.
A, from a use perspective, for anything.
But if we've budgeted correctly, we could jump on an opportunity potentially.
We have $3.1 million set aside if a building popped open and it suddenly seemed like it was the right, absolutely the perfect option. There's still a lot of work to do with the community. You don't go closing a library and say, we're moving you down the street without a lot of public comment.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we did all that too, like, while the district was forming as well. So it's not like it was status quo when all that happened. So, I mean, I'm in favor of also option 1, but I also kind of feel like we have good momentum and we just don't want to like get complacent or, forget about like what our approach has been to now. So like, do that, but also still.
Yeah, and there's parts of this we don't control. So we should just be ready to react, right? The city sells the north building, Meadows decides they're gonna tear it down, don't wanna sell us a new lease. Like there's factors outside of our control.
Right.
We should just be ready to react.
All right, I'll second Tom's motion to approve option 1 as our. I also see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't think you need to vote on it. I need to hear somewhat consensus on that.
Well,
You got it.
Was there?
We called the vote, so let's vote on it. So all in favor of option 1. Otherwise, Tom has to technically withdraw his motion.
So then, Benito, the thing in terms of like keeping the group informed, I'm more than happy to have meetings at any time with anybody about anything that we know. We're really not going to know a whole lot, but if we get the process started now, we anticipate having some good data within a month that enables us to ask good questions. And good questions then will inform what we're talking to the public about. The proposal that we have is that we're doing we have great survey data. We just did it last year. The survey data and the use data that we have don't entirely match. I'm not saying the use data I can firmly stand for. The survey data is like people's opinions. It's great data, but we need to be able to start to tie the two together to better understand what people are actually doing rather than simply what they say they do. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and then we can get some honest answers from the public about how it is they use the library. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people who are in here every day that don't have a reason to talk to us and don't check out a book and don't have a program. I don't know what they're doing. And I have a sense that they're, being in a space around other people without being with people. And that's an interesting phenomenon that's true across our society right now. Like, people go to bars and don't expect to talk to anybody. They're on their cell phone watching TV. Like, that would be weird 20 years ago. It's not weird anymore. It's the normal behavior. And so I think we need to better know what it is they want. I don't have a clue. And some of the engagement part of the plan, which will occur in the second month, then that will give us a lot more ideas about what the community thinks. But we're not asking them, do you want a brand new library? We're asking them, how do you use the books?
Let's take, because let me talk with David and Sylvia. We'll figure out a way, and you or whoever wants to, but a way to engage individual board members 2-on-1 and throughout the process and when it's appropriate. Does that make sense? I can do that. Because I think that will be, to have a plan will be better for us to get together, and we'll bring that back.
Yep.
Next time or something, and just say here's going to be our meetings in cadence, and we have to bring Nadine too. So looking left, we got 8 minutes before we get out of here. I'd like to.
Chris is leaving.
I'm gonna give Chris this. I have you here. Not gonna skip you. We'll skip the draft resolution for past board members.
Yeah.
But that will be all complete. I saw that. If you have any strong comments, give them to Celia. But otherwise, we'll get something for a resolution. And the self-assessment, we'll talk at a later date. Chris?
What about our legal
Well,
report?
We'll get to no big rush on that.
Okay, I just wanted to know if there was anything we needed.
I think this thing already got canned. Details will be on Friday.
Yeah.
For today.
For the moment.
So, Chris?
I've just got one thing here. On behalf of the board of the Boulder Library Foundation, I would like to present the library district with our annual grants and distributions from our named funds in the amount of $313,500.
Pass the check over here. I'm leaving the country tomorrow.
So you'll do the grant report in a year. This is composed of, the biggest grant is $138,000, which you're going to match in your budget with $100,000, and you're going to do that early literacy installment over in the children's department. It's going to be spectacular. $62,000 helps you continue into your second year with Boulder Rights, a great program. $38,000 helps with outreach and literacy for children and families. $22,000 helps you buy accessibility kits for the blind and neurodiverse patrons at all the branches to use computers. And in addition, with the named funds, you have a $24,300 payout from the Maria Rogers Oral History Project Endowment to help sustain that. $9,800 from the new Deanna and Joe LaCamera Endowed Fund, which is now becoming a monthly family music series in the Canyon Theater that Joe LaCamera's thrilled about. I'm giving him rights to those, and he's loving it. $5,000 from the Boulder Reads Endowment, $2,900 from a brand new Lawrence Paddock Endowed Fund to support the Carnegie Archives. That was just opened a couple months ago. And then finally, $11,500 from the George Bragg Designated Fund to pay for archival work over at Carnegie. So on behalf of the board, of which David is part, and also Sarah and Andy.
Chris, are you going to write that in the newsletter or in your newsletter? Not the newsletter, just so all those little, just so I heard them, but
Yeah, you bet.
That's awesome. So, thank you. Thanks for all your hard work.
And I can share that grant letter that enumerates all that.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
That'd be great to see it.
Great, yeah, I'll send it around.
Yeah, it's a huge, that's probably the most you've given, besides the 750 grant that you got.
We've been able to grow the size of the foundation, the grants from the foundation, and the fundraising totals each year.
Yeah. Great.
Somebody mentioned at our earlier meeting with candidates that the website says 99% of the funding.
90. We got to update the foundation website. It's saying
90?
No, it pays for 90% of our programming. Is what
it's
it
saying
says.
on there.
Yeah.
I thought that would take it down, but.
Yeah.
Historically, the budget for programs prior to the library district.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what was explained, but
Right.
anyway, somebody noticed that.
Well, I'll look at that.
Anyway,
Well,
I was gonna
yes.
say, so Library Advocacy Day, the Colorado Association Library, it's Monday, the 23rd of March. And remember, Sylvia offered her office as a place to visit.
That's right. That's right.
It's right nearby.
What do you do? Sorry, can you just?
I guess it's,
You go down to the
I'm hearing,
state
yeah, there's like
library?
starting at 8:00, like sort of an open house, donuts, coffee thing, reception.
Okay.
And all the legislators are invited to that, and people representing different library districts are there throughout the state. And if people want to contact their legislator to get them to attend, it'd be, Judy Joseph and, Leslie Smith, Monday, March 23rd at the state capitol.
Do we have anything to lobby for?
Well, not to take our money. So that would be, I'd go down there in my old Civic, dress in my bad clothes and be like, please, go take our money.
You're not gonna see your old Civic.
I'll park. So on the tax question though, Kim, when are we going to have to make a decision on whether we want to go to the ballot?
Into July. Before they do July. What you need to think about now is if you want to lay some groundwork ahead of time.
Because once we go on the ballot, our hands are tied in terms of our ability to advocate.
Okay,
I'll send more info about this.
Thank you, yeah,
Okay,
thank
So
you.
that we could be.
I do want to go to Sylvia's office.
It's a cool
It's a very cool
building.
office.
It's a very cool, it's one of the coolest old architectural buildings in.
Which building is it?
It used to be called the Mile High Building, but it's right across from the Brown Palace and it's connected to the Wells Fargo building.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I was buried at the Navarre building, which is the museum, right?
Yeah.
So, looks like we've covered most of the agenda. I don't think we need to have a special meeting, but that would be my
When do you want to bring, I guess we did the strategic plan. Okay, so is there nothing on here that needs to come back to us?
Yeah, there's
The trustee matters.
Trustee matters has to be the only
Yeah,
stuff.
a more in-depth discussion of our tax options, it sounds like.
Yeah. But we were planning that for
How bad
May
is the
anyway. We were planning that for May anyway.
How bad is the April agenda already?
It's not bad.
No.
It's not bad now.
Okay, so we'll set aside 20 minutes in the April meeting for a further discussion of the collective bargaining policy and a potential vote, depending upon whether additional changes.
Yep.
20 minutes, okay.
I will miss you.
All right, well then, if that's it, the meeting's adjourned.